Ladies and gentlemen, very big welcome to Lecture 9. Today I'm going to be talking about Chapter 13, Progress and Performance Measurement Evaluation. This is an important chapter, and the reason why it's an important chapter is because there is no point for us to go and actually work on delivering projects without actually making the evaluation to see, well, have we actually delivered the outcomes that we were supposed to go and deliver? Are we actually getting the performance that we are expected to go and actually deliver at any particular point of time? So it's really important really to go and check how we are progressing in terms of what we said we are going to do. If I say I am going to go and build the house in 6 weeks, I can check in 6 weeks, have I actually delivered the house? If I haven't delivered, there's a problem. I need to go and deal with that issue because I was supposed to be able to go and ensure, what needs to go and be done at any particular point of time. So it's about really ensuring things are being done and progressing the way we basically expect them to go and be progressing. So we're going to talk about a number of items to teach you about. We're going to go and identify the 4 steps for controlling a project. We're going to go and actually talk about utilizing a tracking Gantt chart to monitor performance. We're going to go and understand, appreciate the significance of earned value management. We're going to calculate and interpret costs and schedule variances. We're going to calculate and interpret performance and percent indexes. And we're going to forecast final project costs. And we're going to also identify and manage scope creep. Scope creep is a very big problem where things start actually falling behind, and we basically we don't want anything to fall behind. We want to make sure that things gets done on time so that we're not going to go and have any issue in terms of the performance of the project. So it's very important. We're going to go and we're going to manage all of these various specific topics. Now, we're going to need to go and talk about a number of aspects. I'm going to start mentioning one after the other. We're going to go and first of all, we need to create a project monitoring system. And that project monitoring system involves a number of things. Involve understanding what data I need to go and be collecting, how, when, and who will collect that data, how will the data be analyzed, and how to report the current progress. Sorry guys, just bear with me for a second. So it's about thinking about all of these 4 things. I'm going to talk about every one of those aspects now. So what data I need to be collecting? Well, there's a very specific data I need to go and be collecting at any particular point of time. We need to understand, well, what do we need to know? We need to know what is the current status of the project in terms of, is it on schedule or is it behind schedule? Is it on budget or is it behind budget? We basically need to go and think about that particular information. How much will it cost for me to be able to go and actually complete the project? When will the project actually be completed? Are there potential problems that need to be addressed now for the project to go and be completed at the time where I said it's going to be completed? What are the causes for cost or schedule overruns? Who is causing cost or schedule overruns? Where are the causes for cost or schedule overruns? We need to know about all of this information. If there's a cost overrun midway throughout my project, can we forecast the overrun at completion? In other words, can we go and say, all right, I know now I planned it's going to go and finish my project within cost me $1 million, but I know I am behind schedule, I am behind cost. Can I forecast how much is it going to cost me as an overrun after completion? So can I say now it's going to cost me, for example, $200,000 more than what it basically I planned it's going to cost me at any particular point of time? So this is really about what data I need to go and be collecting. After I do that, I need to analyze the data. So we need to collect the data, analyze the data. So collect the data. Will the data be collected by the project team? Will it be collected by the coordinator? Will it be collected by an independent engineer, by a project manager? In other words, who is going to really collect my data? Will the data come automatically or does it come from some surrogate data that we're collecting throughout the project? Should the reporting period be 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, or what should it actually go and really be? Is there any central repository for the data collected? And is someone responsible for its dissemination? So is there any place where I can collect all of this data, take it and store it so that we're going to be able to use it later? And is there actually someone responsible to get that data delivered to the right people, disseminate the data to the actual right parties? We need to talk about reports. So what about reporting? Who gets the progress report about how we are progressing? How will the report be transmitted? Am I going to send it to the CEO? Am I going to send it to go to the marketing team? Am I going to go and send it to the government department? Am I going to send it via email? Am I going to go and put it on a report? Am I going to go and put it as a presentation? Is it going to be on the intranet system? When will it go and be distributed? Is it going to be distributed, every week, every month, every quarter? All of that information. Now we need to go and create a sort of format to go and check and tell people about how we are progressing. Okay? So what do we usually report? Well, we report on progress since my last report. So let's say I gave you a report last week. I need to go and report how am I progressing this week in comparison to last week. I need to look at the current status of the actual project. How am I doing in terms of schedule? How am I doing in terms of cost? How am I doing in terms of scope? And the reason why is because these are the main things I'm expected to go and actually report upon. I need to look about the cumulative trend. For example, I might have been over budget in week 1, but then under budget in week 2. And because I was under budget now, you're going to go and have a balance in terms of the costing. So you're not going to really be over budget now because of these cumulative trends, up, down, whatever's happening. Problem and issues since my last report. What actions and resolutions have I actually undertaken to go and solve my earlier problem? What are the new variances and new problems that I have identified? What are the corrective actions that I'm planning to go and implement to ensure we are going to go and solve the problems? So it's all about really reporting the right information to the right people. Now, what you need to know is when you're trying to create a report, not everybody requires the same level of details when it comes to reporting. Some people might actually go and require a lot of detailed information. Some people might basically not go and require much. They're going to go and say, well, only basic information, only just, let's say, information about the tasks they need to go and be doing, and might be just enough for that specific group of people. But it's really about really thinking about what needs to go and be happening in terms of how we are progressing from time to time. We need to have a control. So you go and plan to go and finish a large part of the work within a certain period of time. How do you know you've actually achieved what you were planned to go and actually achieve? So you need to really go and have a control. What is the control? The control is about performance comparison. I need to compare my actual performance against my planned performance and check for deviation. For example, I might have basically been expected to have been finished all the tasks for week 6, but we come and check and we haven't even finished the task for week 5. So what is that? Well, we are actually falling behind. So what do? We need to identify those deviations and decide, all right, what are we going to now do because we are actually falling behind? We need to have the steps to have control within the project. Steps to measure. Step to evaluate my project performance. What are all of those steps? Well, first of all, to be able to go and compare how you are progressing, you need to go and have some sort of a plan. What is that plan? Well, you need to have a baseline plan. For example, you go and you plan tasks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you go and say to yourself, and week 1, I'm basically planning to spend $50. Week 2, $50. Week 3, $50. 4, 5, and 6. My question to you, if I said I am going to be spending $50 per week between weeks 1 and week 6, for the 6 weeks combined, how much would I be expecting to go and spend in 6 weeks, guys, if every week I'm spending $50? How much is that?
200.
If I say every week $50 I'm supposed to go and actually be spending, for 6 weeks, how much am I basically supposed to go and be spending?
300.
$300. Okay, so that's $300. That is what I call my baseline. Now, I'm going to now compare my baseline to my actual. So let's say in week 1, I was supposed to spend $50. I'll just show you that. I was supposed to spend $50, but I went and I spent, is that showing you? I went and I spent $100. What does that tell me? If I was planning to go and spend $50 and I spent $100, what does that tell you?
Over the budget?
I am over budget. I am over the budget by $100. I am, if you want, 50% over budget in this one specific task. So that's what we do. The baseline is basically tells me how much have I actually created and said to myself I am going to be spending on each particular task at any particular point of time. Because a task could take 10 weeks. In every week, I might be doing a job on that task. So if every day I do work, there's a budget for that work to be completed. If I add those 10 weeks together, I will get the baseline for the whole job. But if I go to one job 1 week, I go to have the baseline of that one particular job for one particular period. Now, I have to go and measure my progress. How am I performing? I go and see then I have a comparison between my plan and my actual. My plan said 50, my actual said 100. So then I know I am $50 over budget. So what do I do then? I have to take corrective actions to try to see what is the issue and to try to go and really rectify that particular problem. That's really what I need to go and bear in mind and think about in that perspective. There are many, many tools we use to be able to communicate how the actual project is progressing. One of the main tools that project managers a lot of time use, especially if they are doing traditional project management, is called the Gantt chart. And the Gantt chart, as I'm going to show you very shortly, show you a visual representation that shows how are things actually progressing at any particular point of time within the actual system. So we're going to go and look at the Gantt chart. It just shows, you know, how we are progressing per task. Are we on time? Are we behind time? And so on. There's also the control chart. Control chart is used to go and plot the difference between the scheduled and the actual times on the critical path at any given point period. And we're going to go and do some control charts today as part of the actual tutorial, as well as I'm going to show you some control charts as part of the actual lecture. There's going to be milestones. Milestones are what we call schedules. You know, it's like times, or it's like items within my plan that I use to be able to go and identify significant achievement as part of the project. So if I go, for example, and say I am delivering module 1 of my software, we might say, you know, do the task, plan, develop, test, deliver. Okay, great. But once we finish all of these jobs, once we finish all of these tasks, we go and say at the end, task complete. And because the task is actually complete, what happened there? Well, the task is basically complete means it's like a significant major achievement in my project. So module 1 complete, great, I finished development, there's nothing else I need to go and do. That's all what I basically go and actually do. So that's what we need to go and know about in terms of the actual milestone. Milestone is not an activity. Milestone does not consume time. Milestone is simply a point that I put in my plan to go and indicate that a major achievement has been completed. When I put a milestones in my project plan, I put it as 0 days duration to show that it's not an activity that actually consumes time. I told you about the Gantt chart. Look at the Gantt chart. Okay, you can see on top, this is a baseline. A is supposed to finish in 2 days, B and C, they're supposed to be finishing in day 5 and day 6. Okay, great. But you see here at the bottom, what we call a tracking Gantt chart. We are actually tracking how we are progressing in terms of the work that we're basically supposed to go and be doing. Are we actually working on time? Are we behind schedule? How are we progressing at that particular point of time? So if you look here, guys, this is the actual completion and this is the baseline completion. Could you tell me, did we finish activity A on time? Did activity A finish on time? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
let's look at activity B.
Yes.
This is a plan and this is the actual. Yeah? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let's look at activity C. That was the plan and that's the actual.
Finished ahead.
Finished ahead of time. Perfect. So because it finished ahead of time, what happened to activity E? Activity E, look, it usually starts here. It starts after C finishes. So C was supposed to finish here and E starts here. But because C finished early, E is starting early. Can you see that? So
Yes.
this activity is no longer starting late. It's starting 1 week earlier because we finished the activity before it 1 week earlier. That basically shows you the tracking. Actually helps you track what is happening, how things are progressing. It helps you also know that whether your project is going to be delayed. The project is supposed to go and plan to finish in week 12, but in reality, it's going to go and finish in week 13. So that's the differences that we go and have to go and bear in mind. Make sense, guys? Any questions? If it makes sense, just give me the thumbs up. Okay, so Asha, Shamel, okay. Anyone else understand? All right, perfect. This is a sort of control chart, guys. You know, what does this do? Really, it just kind of shows you if you are, you know, behind schedule or ahead of schedule. This is your time period, reporting period. And this is how we're progressing. Okay, so week 1, we're going to report. Week 1, okay, I am minus time, which means I'm not actually achieving everything that I'm supposed to achieve. Everything I'm supposed to achieve should be here on this line. Week 2, yeah, I'm still behind schedule. Week 3, yeah, I'm still behind schedule. This is a behind schedule at the bottom because it's a minus. Week 4, okay, I am exactly on schedule. Week 5, okay, great, I am now ahead of schedule. Week 6, again, I am ahead of schedule. And there seems to be a trend that I'm going to be ahead of schedule going forward. This is a trend. I don't know whether that trend is going to continue, but what I can see is there is a trend that is available at this stage, and that trend seems to indicate that we are actually now going and finishing things ahead of our schedule at that time. We need to talk about earned value management. Earned value management is really a methodology that has been created that combines a number of aspects relating to project management. So what it is, it basically combines scope, it combines schedule, it combines resource measurement to assess the project performance and progress. So let's look at the scope. What are we supposed to do? Let's talk about when we were supposed to do those things. And when we're going to supposed to do those things is really a direct relationship about the resources that I'm actually assigning. Not simply a direct relationship to schedule, but also a direct relationship to cost. Because it's going to cost me more if I'm going to assign more resources to finish the job earlier. Now, this approach to measurement is all based on formulas, and it's all based on analyzing what those formulas really mean. It was pioneered by the US Department of Defense, uses a number of acronyms and equations that we need to go and analyze, uses data developed from the work breakdown structure, project network, and schedule, and start with the time, phase, cost that provides a project budget. Now, this is the example I showed you earlier. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6. We know for each period how much we're going to go and actually be planning to go and spend to go and do work. So this is really what I'm talking about in terms of start with the time, phase, cost. We have a phases of how much money we are going to be spending at any particular point of time. The time, phase, cost provide the project budget baseline. So we know the baseline for week 1 is $50. The baseline for 6 weeks is $300. And that's what we call the planned value. So the planned value is how much work I am planned to go and actually spend or do in any particular point of time. So if I'm planned to do $50 worth of work, well, if I haven't done $50 worth of work, then I am basically behind schedule. So we look at the planned value. We try to compare what was planned to be completed against what was actually completed. So we call it earned value. So what we've earned comparing to what we were planned to earn. Now, to make the comparison, we make one comparison based on schedule and one comparison based on cost, which I'll show you very shortly. So look at all of these concepts: earned value, planned value, actual cost, cost variance, schedule variance, and so on. What are they? Earned value for the task is the budgeted value of the work accomplished. In other words, how much work have I actually completed in dollar terms? Did I finish $100 worth of work? Did I finish $200 worth of work? Sometimes we go and say how much we've earned as a percentage. So if we make it as a percentage, we basically say, okay, I've done 25% of my budget. Okay, if my budget is $1,000 and I've done 25% of my budget, then what I've done is basically I have done $250. I've actually earned $250 worth of work. I have actually completed $250 worth of work. The question then comes, okay, you've earned, $250 worth of work. Great. How much were you planned to earn? Were you planning to earn $250? Or were you planning to earn $300? Or were you planning to earn $200? Because if you were planning to earn $200, but you earned $250, then great, you are ahead of schedule. But if you're planning to earn $400 and you only earn $250, then you are behind schedule. So when you compare your earned value to your planned value, this is really what it means. I am comparing my schedule. Am I ahead of schedule or am I behind schedule? I also compare my earned value to my actual cost. And when I compare the earned value to cost, I am not comparing the schedule here. I am comparing my budget. Am I ahead of budget or am I over budget? Am I under or over budget? Again, if I basically earned $250 worth of work But for this 250, I paid 400. God, why are you paying $400 for something that you should have done for 250? I am over budget. But if I actually earned 250 and only paid 100, I am definitely ahead of under budget. I am doing very well from a budget perspective. So we really need to go and actually know those particular values. Earned value, planned value, actual cost. I compare earned value to planned value, and I compare earned value to actual cost. My comparison between earned value and planned value give me what I know as a schedule variance. How am I doing in terms of schedule? Am I ahead of schedule or behind? How do I know that? By doing earned value minus planned value. My cost variance, how am I doing in terms of budget? Under or over? And again, it's earned value minus actual cost. So everything gets compared against what I have actually earned at any particular point of time. Now for your exercises, you will need to go and calculate all of these cost variances and schedule variances. You will need to go and think about earned value and planned value. You need to go and actually put all of that information. And I'm going to give you so much training on that today to ensure you don't actually miss out. So if any of your colleagues are not here today in the classroom, there's actually two not here. I encourage you to message them. Just check if they're not here. Message them so that they can actually not miss out on that very, very important calculation. Budgeted cost at completion. How much am I expected it's going to cost me to go and have that project? That's my baseline. So if I have 10 tasks in my project and every task is going to cost me $100, then I know from the 10 tasks it's going to go and cost me $1,000 to finish the whole project. That's what I call budgeted at completion. Estimated at completion is how I actually estimated to go and pay to finish the project. So I might have budgeted that it's going to cost me $1,000, but in reality, I might not have delivered the project very well. And because of that, my estimated cost at completion is actually increased from being $1,000 to becoming $1,200. That's what we call estimated at completion. Estimated to complete is estimated cost to complete the remaining work. So I might have went and let's say I completed $1,000 worth of work and I still need to do $200 worth of work to be able to go and complete the actual project. So estimated to complete the project is $200 more I need to go and spend to be able to go and really complete the project. Variances at completion. Cost variances is really about finding how much over my budget did I actually go. So for example, I go in comparison how much it actually cost me versus how much it was planned to cost me. The differences is my variances at completion. These are the sort of calculations you need to go and bear in mind in your exercises. Now, what I have planned to do, I have planned to go and give you the formulas in your final exam. So if I was, it's not if, you know, the exercises that you will get in the final exam about this chapter, you will get the formulas being given to you, and you don't need to go and remember those formulas. So how do we go and actually develop an integrated cost and schedule system to be able to go and measure progress? Well, the first thing we do is we need to go and actually define the work breakdown structure. You know, what is the scope? What are the work packages we need to go and do? What are the main deliverables we're going to go and produce? What are the organizational units that are involved? What are the resources we're going to go and assign? What is the budget we're going to set for each work package? We're going to go and really identify all of these initial information. From that information, we're going to go and develop a work and resource schedule. When are resources going to be assigned? and when is the work really going to be completed. So we're going to schedule resources to activities, which will tell me how much the activity is going to cost me. Because if I know I'm putting 2 employees for that task in week 1, I know I have to go and end up paying both of these employees for week 1. So we're going to have to go and develop this work and resource schedule. We're going to have to go and schedule resource to activities. We're going to have to go and create a time phase work packages into the network. Time phase in every period. How much money am I going to spend? If activity, let's say A, is $200 worth, and if I'm going to do it over 3 days by assigning the same person every week, well, I know that cost will be divided across 3 various periods. I know I'm planned to earn at each period 1/3 of that work only. I have to go and develop a time phase budget using the work packages included in an activity called the planned budgeted cost of the work package. What am I planned to go and be complete at any particular point of time? At the work package level, I need to collect the actual cost of the work performed. What is my actual cost? Multiple percent complete with the original budget to be earned value. So we need to also think about what have I actually went and earned. When I go and calculate my actual cost, my planned value, my earned value, then and only then I'll be able to go and start making the comparison. Calculate my schedule variance, calculate my cost variances, and finding out whether things are progressing well or whether they are actually not progressing in the most appropriate manner. So we really need to go and actually think about that information in details. But the first most important thing at the beginning is we need to go and define what I call a work breakdown structure from the beginning. That is the beginning of everything in traditional project management. We create that, and from there we start basically assigning people, time, budget, and so on. And this is when we start knowing how much money is it going to go and be spent, or supposedly should be spent at any particular point of time. So we look at all of these things that I told you. We have the scope, we have the deliverables, we have the work breakdown structure, we have the organizational business units, we have all the work packages, time, labor, materials, budget. We plan the baseline, and we start controlling only after we plan what are we supposed to go and be spending at any particular point of time. Before we do that, we cannot actually go and make any of the comparisons that needed to go into that. So we talk about the baseline. Why do we have a baseline? Why do we have a planned value? Why do we need to know what we plan to spend at any particular point of time? Because when we know what we're planning to spend in each period, we can measure progress and report whether we're progressing as expected or not. We can estimate the cash flow that is going to be needed at any particular point of time. There are various rules we follow to be able to go and decide how we're going to go and assign a cost to the baseline. Some people, for example, go and put costs exactly as the managers expect them to be earned. So if the manager expects that I am going to finish this task in week 8 and spend a whole $100, I'm going to go and do all of these things in week 8 at that particular point of time. So we basically go and put it in that particular point of time. We're going to earn it in week 8. We're going to put the whole thing in week 8 because that's how we're going to go and get the job done. Another approach is we're going to go and have percent complete, which is a common way for us to go and get the evaluation. How do we do it? Well, you could say, for example, my task is going to go and usually cost me $150. I am finishing 33% of that task. So in week 1, and because I'm doing 33% of the task in week 1, my budget baseline for that week 1 is $50. Why? Because the cost for 3 weeks is $150. For only 1 week, it is actually going to be $50. What costs are included in the baseline? Well, baseline include a number of costs: the labor cost, the equipment cost, the materials cost. These are what I call the direct costs that are associated with actually doing any specific activity in a work breakdown structure. So the cost of doing the actual work to be able to go and ensure the project gets delivered within a specific period of time. We need to compare what I've earned with what I was scheduled to earn, and what I've earned with my actual cost. And that's really what I go and actually do. My planned cost is my planned value. That's my baseline. That's what I'm planned to go and spend at any particular point of time. My budgeted cost of the work completed, it's the work that I've actually earned. How much work have I actually completed? How much, in dollar terms, how much work have I actually completed? Actual cost, at what cost have I actually went and completed the particular work at any particular point of time? From there, it's all about looking at my schedule variances, cost variances. If I have a positive variance, sweet. It's either I am ahead of schedule or I am under budget. If it's negative, however, I am behind schedule and I am over budget. And that's really where it becomes a problem we need to go and deal with and solve very quickly to avoid having negative consequences relating to my project. So these are the formulas we need to go and know about. My cost variance, and as I said, everything gets compared against the earned. What you need to know is a cost means I'm comparing the cost. Schedule means I'm comparing my planned. So my cost variance is I'm comparing the work I have earned versus how much it cost me to earn that work in dollar terms. And the schedule variance, how much have I earned, comparing on how much have I actually been planned to be earning in terms of the schedule for any particular point of time. Measures really progress in dollar. So we're measuring progress here. You know, although we're measuring the schedule, we're not measuring time unit, we're actually measuring the actual budget, dollar value. How much were they supposed to spend in terms of dollar at this particular point of time in terms of the schedule? So yes, we are comparing and measuring and comparing dollar values, but we are doing that simply to go and report on whether we are actually ahead of schedule or whether we are actually behind schedule. The variances is what is my budgeted at completion minus what is my estimated at completion. If I'm budgeted to spend 1,000 and I spend 1,200, that's mean I am actually over budget by $200. So it's really about knowing that information also. I'm going to start to report on that. This is an important one. I'll start reporting on that, now. So looking at this graph, guys, what it actually does, it basically tries to give us the comparison between these terms that I was basically talking to you about earlier. So if I look here, let's look here, guys. What does this tell you here? What can you see? What is this actually telling you? What is it telling you?
Sir, I can't hear you.
What's that?
Sir, I can't hear you.
You can't what, sorry? Sorry, my friend, I didn't get what you were saying. So this is...
He said he can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Okay.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Okay. Okay, sorry, Mohammed. Guys, can you hear me now? Any change?
It's fine for me. I don't know about others.
Yeah, I can hear you, Chief.
Okay, Mohammed, can you do me a favor? Could you just check if the sound is low on your computer? Because it might be that, you know, the reason why the sound might be very low. Could you please just try to increase it, my friend? And let me know if you can hear me better. All right, perfect, perfect. Now, guys, I want you to look at this screen here, and I want you to tell me, what is this actually telling you? I just showed you what BAC is and what EAC is. I want you to look at that and tell me, what does this actually tell you? If you look at it, what does it mean? What do you think?
The project ended up cheaper than it was supposed to be.
Okay, what is this called? What's BAC?
Baseline cost.
Yeah, so it's budgeted at completion. Yeah, so what am I budgeted to go and cost me at the end of the project? And what is this?
Estimated cost.
Estimated at completion. So my estimated cost at completion is higher than the budgeted at completion. What does that mean?
Cheaper.
No, it's actually more expensive.
On the budget?
If my budget was 400 and it's going to cost me 480, that's more expensive because that's my estimate is higher than my budgeted. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sure.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, now let's look. There are three lines here. There's an actual cost, there's a planned value, and there's an earned value. So I told you we compare everything to the earned. So in week today, I was supposed to earn $200. Okay? Sorry, actually, let me repeat. I earned $200, but it cost me, this is the actual cost, it cost me $340. So am I over budget or under budget?
Over
Over budget, because I earned 200, but the actual cost is 340. Now I earned 200, but my planned earning was 300. So am I behind schedule or ahead of schedule? I earned 200, but I was planned to earn 300.
Again behind.
I am behind schedule. So you can see how when you compare earned value line to planned value line, you get a schedule variance. And when you compare the earned value line to the actual cost line, you'll get the cost variance. And that's really what you need to go and actually bear in mind. The project was supposed to cost me, when I have done 100% worth of the work, it should have basically only cost me $100. But in reality now, it's expected to cost me much more than that because of how am I progressing in terms of the work. Let's look here. Earned value minus planned value. Is that negative or positive? Earned
Negative,
value
sir.
minus plan, negative. Earned value minus actual cost, negative or positive? Earned is now down, actual is higher. So earned, let's say 200 minus 400, it's minus. Whenever it's negative means SV, negative means I am behind schedule. CV negative mean I am over budget. Look here, earned value is on top. Earned value minus actual cost, earned value minus plan, it is positive. So I am under budget, I am ahead of schedule. Here, earned value minus actual cost is negative. So I am over budget. Earned value divided by planned value is positive. So I am ahead of schedule. So schedule is positive, budget is negative. Here, earned value minus actual cost. Okay, so the earn is more than the actual cost. So I am under budget because the cost variance is positive. Earned value minus planned value. Earn is less than planned, so it is negative. And because it's negative, I am behind schedule. So whenever SV is negative, that means you're behind schedule. Whenever SV is positive, that means you're ahead of schedule. Whenever CV is positive, that means you are ahead of budget or under budget. And when it is negative, means you are over budget. So it's about really making sure you consider those various terms in terms of your calculation. Are we clear so far, my friends? Any questions at all? Alrighty. Alrighty, so when you are trying to make your calculations for such exercises, I want you to assume that each cost account has only one work package, and each cost account will be represented as an activity on the network. So that activity will have a cost package and cost account associated with it. The project network early start times will serve as a basis for assigning the baseline. So for week 1, how much we basically plan for week 2, week 3, week 4. From the moment work on an activity task begins, we're going to start assigning cost for each period for that specific cost that we basically are incurring. So look at this example. In this example, we go and see that we have more than one task: design, shell power, memory, Zoom, whatever they are. And you can see there's a cost account for the first activity. It's going to cost me $20. Cost account for the second activity is going to cost me $15. Third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And it's telling you how much each activity is going to cost you. But you don't simply want to know how much each activity is going to cost you. You want to know when are you going to be spending that money. So for design specifications, I know that it's going to take me 2 days. For shell and power, to spend the $15, I know it's going to be 1 and 2 days. For memory software, I know for $100, but I know it's going to take me 1, 2, 3, 4 days to spend $100. So if I go to A, if I know, for example, the first activity design specification is $20, and if I know it's going to take 2 days, then I know, for example, that the cost could be $10 per week. Why? Because it's $20. You might want to divide it equally per week. So you're going to say, okay, well, for these activities, the original cost is 20. It takes 2 days. That's mean I'm going to spend $10 here and $10 here at particular point of times. Activity 2, my planned value is $15. Okay, great. I'm not going to spend them equally. I'm going to spend $5 in the first day and $10 in the second day. Activity 3, I'm going to plan to spend $20 in day 2 to 3, then 30, then 30, then 20. Activity D, I'm going to basically plan to go and spend $15, then 10, then 10. So for every one of those activities, you plan the value of the overall items, A, 20, B, 15, C, 100, but you also plan when is the 20 going to be spent? When is the 15 going to be spent? And then you're going to say, okay, $10 for A, so my planned value is 10, my cumulative is 10. Then for week 2, I'm going to basically have 10, so my plan is 10, but my cumulative is 10 plus 10 is 20. For week 3, it's 20, 35, and 40, that's 40, plus the 20 is 60. Here, 50, 50 plus 60, 110. Here, 40, 40 plus 110, 150. So you see how the cost is actually accumulating until you know what the cost is going to be for the overall project at the end. Now, in this first one, you can see my earned value is 10, my actual cost is 10, my planned value is 10. Well, you're going to say, how did you know the planned value? Well, I knew the planned value because I was planned to spend $10 here. How do you know what's the earned value is? Well, because we said we actually spent 50% of the task completed. And I know the task is $20 in total. So if we did 50% of it, that's when we've earned $10 worth of work. How much was I planned to actually do? Well, it was $10 planned to be doing. So when you calculate the cost variance, earned value 10 minus actual cost 10 is 0. Earned value for the schedule variance 10 minus planned 10 equals 0. So what does this tell me? It says I am on time, schedule variance. For the cost, I am on budget. Let's look for week 2. Week 2, we finish the activity. We know the activity is basically planned to go and cost me $20. I know that my earned value, I earned all of it, 100% of the work, so that's $20. But I knew it cost me $30. So to compare the cost variance is earned minus the cost. 20 minus 30 is equal minus 10. To calculate the schedule, earned minus planned equals 0. So 20 minus 20 is 0. So I am on schedule. 20 minus AC is 30. So minus 10. That's mean I am behind budget. And usually we say, we add 3 zeros. So I say I'm behind budget by $10,000. Usually because the calculation is usually done around $10,000. So for every 0, you basically add 3 zeros. But just be careful what I give you in the exercise. But that's really what it's telling you. Week 3. Okay, well, we know A is finished. So how do we get the figures for A? Well, they're here. 20, 30, 20 minus 10, 0. 20, 30, 20 minus 10, and 0. We already know that from week 2. We know activity B is 33% completed. Okay, great. Let's go to activity B. Activity B is planned $5 for period 2. We finished 33% of the work. So 33% of 15, that's $5. So I earned $5 because I've done 33% of the work. And it cost me $10. And I was planned to earn $5, which is what I have here, planned to earn $5. So if I calculate my variances, 5 minus 10 minus 5, 5 minus 5 equals 0. If I go to this C, C is supposed to cost me $100. I know that I'm supposed to go in week 2 for C, only spend 20. So my planned value for C is 20. I know I earned 20% of the work. So 20% of 100, which is the overall cost of the whole activity C. 20% of that is $20. So I earned 20. I was planned to earn 20. My actual cost is 30. So cost variance, 20 minus 30 equal minus 10. Scheduled variance is 20 minus 20 equals 0. We do the same thing for activity C. Activity C, look C, activity D. I'm planning to spend $15 in week 2 to 3. So that's planning is $15. I did 60% of activity D. So if I did 60% of D, 60% of $35, what is that? Well, that's $21. How much did it cost me in practice? $20. So my earned value is 21 minus 20, which is plus 1. My scheduled variance is 21 minus 15, that's plus 6. So cumulatively, I have earned 66. I add all of these. I have paid 90. I'm planned value, I was planned to have a value of 60. My variance is minus 24 and my scheduled variance is plus 6. So because my scheduled variance is positive, what does that mean? I am what? What does a positive schedule variance mean, guys?
Ahead of the plan.
Ahead of schedule. And what about a minus 24 cost variance? What does it mean?
Over budgeted.
I am over
Over
budget.
budget. Yeah.
So you're going to have a lot of exercises today in the tutorial where you're going to basically have to fill those tables. You're going to have to make the calculations. And you're going to have to go and analyze what that means. And in your exam, you will have to go and think about cost variance, schedule variance. Am I ahead of schedule? Am I behind budget? Am I over budget? Am I under? You need to basically think about all of these things as part of your work. Look here. You go and continue. Period 4. We know here, for example, 33% complete means $5. So if that becomes 100% complete, what does the earned value becomes, guys?
15.
$15. So you go and see here, 100% complete. So the earned value is 15. My planned value remain the same. Yes?
Why is it 10 there on the number B?
Here?
On the AC, yeah, the 10 here.
Well, this is really comparing the cost. So usually when you are delivering the project in practice, you would know how much that actual activity has actually cost you, because you would have basically assigning people to a specific activity, and the system will calculate for you how much that activity did actually cost you. Here, those figures are given to you. In practice,
In the exam, are you going to give us the figures for the AC?
In exam, most likely you don't have to calculate any actual costs. You need to think about earned value. You need to think about planned value. But the cost usually gets given to you so that you don't have to worry about it yourself.
Okay.
Because obviously you can't calculate it. That's why we give it to you. So we're going to move to period 4, where this becomes 100%. So the earned value becomes 15. And we know we were planning for activity B. The plan was to finish 15 by period 4. So the plan is 15. The earn is 15. The cost is 20. We do the normal calculations. We know for C, we did 50% of the work. So 50% of $100 budget, that's $50. The plan was 50 and the cost is 70. So we are obviously spending more money. And we do the same thing here. 80% of I've earned for activity D. Well, 80% of 35, 80% of it is $28. My plan, what was I planned for week 4? Well, I was planned for week 4 to have spent 15 and 10, $25. So that's $25 planned. That's my actual cost. And again, I'm making my comparison, making my totals, and adding cumulatively the total. Then you see we're going to do another period, but you see A and B are finished. So the figures from A and B here will straight away get transferred here, like 20, 30, 20 minus 10, 0, goes here. 15, 20, 15 minus 5, 0, get transferred here. And you continue with everything else with the normal calculation that I've basically been showing you. So not very challenging, not very difficult. It's really about thinking about how we really go and think about all of those items to get the job done. We continue with week 6, we continue with week 7, and eventually we basically find out. So what do we have here, guys? We have cost variance, we have schedule variance. Now let's look at it period by period. Guys, let me ask you. Week 1, I earned 10. Actual cost is 10, planned value is 10. Let's look here. Okay, week 1, 10, 10, 10. These are the 3 lines on the same place in week 1. Let's check week 2. Week 2, 20, 30, 20. Earn actual cost plan. So actual cost is 30. Let's go and see. Where's the actual cost? That's the actual cost. You see how actual cost is higher, and you see how earned value and planned value are lower. Period 3. My earned value for period 3 is 60. 66. Sorry, my earned value is 66. My actual cost is 90. So let's look here. My actual cost for week 3 is 90. Look here how it's higher. Look how my earned value is 66. My planned value is 60. So planned value here, look here, this one, planned value is 66. And actually planned value is 60, I think here. Sorry, planned value is 60. So you can see how the planned value, this is a line, planned value is lower, 60. And you see how this is the earned value, EV. You see how earned value is higher. So all what they're doing, they're basically picking up every period, putting the figures on a graph, linking them up until they reach week 7, which is the last week we are actually comparing here. And you'll be able to know from that calculation, okay, earned value, you can calculate the schedule variance and cost variance because you are comparing everything to what is my earned value. So you're comparing this earned value minus this, earned value minus this. You know they're both negative. So what does that tell you about the project, guys? What does that tell you about the project? Come on, it's not that hard. What does it tell you about the project?
Behind the schedule, over the budget.
Behind the schedule, over the budget. Well done. You see how I told you there are 3 zeros here? Because they are calculating things by, so if I say 70, so that's mean I am $7,000, actually $70,000 behind budget. Like there's $70,000 worth of work that I haven't actually completed. So I'm basically very much over budget. I am $70,000 over budget basically. So you need to be very careful on those calculations. In terms of schedule variance, I am $40,000 in terms of schedule that I should have completed, but I am actually behind schedule. There's $40,000 of work that I should have done from a schedule perspective, but I have actually not done that work. So that's what we need to go in there. Any questions on that?
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
Go on.
Yeah, sir, please repeat the period 2.
The what, sorry?
Just 2 period, yeah.
Period 2?
Yes, sir.
So this one here, you mean?
No, not here. On back.
Oh, back, sorry. Okay, here?
Here, just 2 part, yeah.
Okay, so activity A is 100% completed. Okay? So, activity A, in week 2, I was supposed to spend 20. My planned value is 20. Can you see that? Plan 10, plan 10. Yes. So for 2 weeks, my planned value is 20. And if I said I finish 100% out of task A, 100% out of my plan of 20, that means I finished all the $20 worth of work. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can see here then, I earned 20 because I've done 100% of the work. I was planned to earn 20 because that's basically planned here, 20. I know the cost is 30. So when I want to compare it, cost variance is EV minus AC, 20 minus 30 equal minus 10. SV equal EV minus PV, 20 minus 20 equals 0. And that will give me the totals for that activity.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
No worries. Tunani, you had a question?
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
So how did you get the cost variance to be minus 70?
Because, okay, let's look here. This is week 7, yeah? Week 7, they kept on calculating all of these figures. They added them together, and they knew the cost variance is minus 70 because they basically were calculating earned value minus actual cost. 160 minus 230 equal minus 70, and 160 minus 200 equal minus 40 for the schedule variance. So these figures basically gets transferred to the graph.
Okay. Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime. Any other questions, guys? Alrighty, guys. So what happened basically here, we keep on comparing things together. It's basically becomes looking at the budget. For example, if you know this activity is going to take much more longer to complete, what does this tell you? Well, it tells you that this activity is going to basically start later. Instead of basically finishing, let's say, this activity here and then start the next one, well, we're going to have to go and delay some activities. So you basically see what is the remaining duration, what was the baseline, and what's the actual completed, which is in blue. This is called slack, so I can delay that activity by that much without really delaying my project completion time. So really, it's about showing you all of these things I've been teaching you about, but it's actually showing you all of this as part of the system and as part of the actual visual representation. So guys, we can see here, okay, activity A. I want to show you. Cost variance minus 10, scheduled variance is 0. 0 minus 10. Activity B, shell. 0 and minus 5. 0 and minus 5. Third one, C, minus 10 minus 30. Minus 10 minus 30. So basically, you're actually reporting all of that information, all the calculation that you've already done, to be basically to know whether an activity is behind, on time, or not on time. That's all what we're doing, just transferring that information to the graph. We also have other ways of calculation, and you need to know these. For example, there's a cost performance index and a schedule performance index. Cost performance index, instead of actually calculating a minus or a plus calculation, you basically try to calculate a an index. So for example, CPI equal earned value divided by actual cost. So if I say earned value is 160 and actual cost is 230, that's mean my CPA in terms of cost is 0.96, which means I am actually having 0.7 worth of work completed for every dollar spending. So I'm spending $1, but I'm only doing $0.7 worth of work. What does that mean? I am behind budget, or I am over budget or under budget? For every $1, I'm doing 0.7 worth of work. Am I over budget or under budget?
Under budget.
If I spend $1, I need to complete $1. If I'm completing less than $1, that means I am behind budget. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I basically have an index of 0.7, the index needs to be 1. It has to be 1 and over to mean I am actually doing as much work as I'm expected to actually do for that $1 that I'm getting paid. Same here, schedule variance equal earned value divided by planned value. So you see, you're using the same thing, but instead of earned value minus and earned value minus, you're doing CPI is earned value divided by actual cost, and SPI equal earned value divided by planned cost, by planned value. So planned value of 0.8 means for every $1 I'm spending for a schedule, I'm only doing 0.8 work of scheduled work that I was supposed to complete. So I am again behind schedule because I am not doing equal 1. I'm not doing equally what I'm supposed to have done for the $1 that I'm spending. We also calculate other things, percent complete index budget. It's, in other words, how much of the actual project have I actually completed? 0.5 of the project or 0.6% of the project is done. Percent complete index actual cost. So we're basically comparing how much percentage completed versus the actual, not the budgeted cost, versus the actual cost. How much has I actually go and completed versus when I compare it to the actual cost, which might be higher than my planned cost. We have management reserves, which is the extra money that the management might go and give me to be able to go and, in case things go wrong. So we go and basically have a management reserve index to kind of show me how much have I actually spent in terms of the actual management reserve by going over budget in terms of my costing. So as I said, when the index CPI is over 1, that means I am under cost and ahead of schedule, because for every dollar, I'm doing more work than I'm expected to go into. If I am on cost and on schedule, equal 1 means I am on cost and I'm scheduled. Under 1, which means for every dollar I spend, I'm delivering less than 1 worth of work. That's what I call over cost, and that's what I call behind schedule. Look here, guys. You're basically comparing this extra calculation in SPA, which is what I, put here 0.7, 0.8. This is really what we have. We know that it's for every dollar we're spending, we're doing only 0.8 worth of work. We should be doing at least 1 for every dollar. That's in terms of schedule. In terms of costs, we're doing only 0.7 worth of work. We should do at least 1 in terms of cost. And PCIB is percentage of the actual budget we've already spent, so percentage of the completed indexes budget. So we basically did 50% of the work already by spending that budget that we basically have for our system. This is an important slide. There are rules that are applied to short duration activities and or small cost activities. What sort of rules I actually apply when I want to decide how much have I actually earned at any particular point of time. There's a 0-100 rules. What does that mean? We assume that 100% of the budget is earned when the work package is completed. So before that work package is completed, we don't put any dollar at all as we've earned that money. There's a 50-50% rule of earning value, allows 50% of the value to be earned when I start the activity, and the remaining 50% to be earned when I actually finish this activity. And the third aspect is you use a percentage complete with weighted monitoring gates. So we monitor week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. It is subjective. If someone comes and look at the task and say, okay, for activity 1 in week 1, we've done 20% of the activity. For week 2, we've already done 50% of the activity. For week 3, we've already done whatever part of that activity. So you basically start adding all of these extra figures. Now, sometimes when you go and forecast how much a project was supposed to cost you, the cost increase down the track. So if the cost actually increases, you're going to go and create a revised estimate cost at completion. So how much do I believe it is going to cost me to finish the project? What is the new estimated cost to complete the project? And we have what we call, forecasted. So revised estimate is like, how we have before budgeted at completion? It's like a new budgeted of completion. It's like something has changed in my project and I'm trying to create a new baseline. And that's what we call estimated at completion. When I have here forecasted total cost at completion, it's more really, how much is it actually going to cost me? So if I forecast, a new forecast is going to cost me 1,000, but in reality, my forecasted completion is 1,200, means we expected it's going to, we forecast it's going to cost me really $200 more than a new forecast I went and I actually created for that particular estimation. There's, the formulas here, estimated at completion, which is actual cost plus estimated to complete calculation, which is revised estimate cost to complete the project. There's estimated at completion forecast, which is the, estimated to complete plus actual cost. How do you know the estimated to complete? It's basically work remaining divided by CPI plus actual cost, which means it is, the same way you can say it's budgeted at completion minus earned value divided by earned value divided by actual cost plus actual cost. So there are a number of things. These are basically the more complicated formulas that are there. We will basically try to do some of those calculations today in the class, but I'm not going to try to give you so much complication as part of your final exam. To complete index, which is used as a supplement to the estimated at completion, measures the amount of value each remaining dollar must produce for us to be able to finish the project on time. A ratio less than 1 indicates that to complete the project without using all, we're going to be able to complete the project without really spending all of our remaining budget. But if my to complete index is, let's say, 1.3, what it means is for every dollar I spend, I have to produce $1.3 worth of work to be able to go and really get the job done. So if the total to complete percentage index, if it's under 1, it means for every dollar I spend, I have to complete, you know, less than 1 worth of work for that dollar that I'm basically being given to spend to do $1 worth of work. So if I was given that dollar to do $1 worth of work, but the index tells me for every dollar of work you need to do 0.6 worth of work, and if I only do 0.6 worth of work, I will still be able to complete the project on time and within the specification and within the, you know, without, you know, if you want, without spending all the budget, because my index is basically under 1. What my index under 1 means I was working very well on managing my project beforehand, and because I was working very efficiently, I could now, I have the ability, even if I don't work as efficiently as I can, even if I have some efficiency issues, I will still be able to go and finish the project and potentially without finishing all the remaining budget. All right, guys, look at those figures. What are they telling you? What are those figures telling you? What can you tell me?
We are behind schedule.
Okay, which one tells you we're behind schedule?
The SV one.
Okay, great. So SV tells you we are behind schedule by, you know, $22,176 worth of scheduled work should have been done, haven't been done. Okay, what else?
We are over budget by CV.
Yeah, we are 30,736 over budget, correct? What else do we know? How much is my project?
CPI tells
What's
under
that?
cost. That
What's
we are
that?
under cost. CPI.
Under 1
0.95.
means 1. Means what?
Under cost.
Yeah, no, means I am over budget. So the same thing, it means the same thing. Anything under 1 is over budget. So anything under 1 is over budget. It's earned value divided by actual cost. If it's under 1, that means I am not doing $1 worth of work for every dollar I'm spending. I'm doing 0.95 worth of work for every dollar that I'm spending here. Make sense?
Sure.
Okay. Now, what is that? What is BAC? What is BAC, guys? How much was my project budgeted to cost at the end of the period? So my budgeted cost for the project is $1,051,200. What's EAC?
Estimated cost?
My estimated to complete. So you can see my estimate is more than my budgeted, which means I am basically going to be over budget. Again, it's telling you the same thing, over budget, over budget, over budget. Makes sense? estimated at completion forecast, what is that? How much I'm forecasting the project to go and cost me, my new forecast. Okay, so it's a new like estimation. The forecast is changing. PCIB and PCIC, it's what I've done here. So, percentage complete index budget cost. So out of my budget, how much worth of work I've done. And in terms of percentage complete index for my actual cost, so my budgeted cost is different from my actual cost. Okay, so if I go and actually compare in terms of my budgeted cost, I've done 0.538 out of my budget have been actually spent. If I go and compare it to my actual cost, I'm basically spending more money because my costing is actually costing me more money when I'm comparing the work to how much money I've actually spent. I'm actually spending more money, and I've done 0.5.7 worth of work in terms of my actual costing for the project. We're going to have a lot of calculations now to try to go and really learn more about these things. But before I finish really about that, I want to say about a few things to bear in mind. Technical performance measurement is very important as schedule and cost performance. In other words, are we delivering the scope that was expected? Are we delivering the technical requirements that we are expected to go and deliver or not? Scope creep is another very important thing. We can't say it's a minor change. It's not going to be a big deal. We don't worry about it. Any minor change, they're going to go and accumulate one after the other. And with the accumulation of all of these changes, what will happen is it's going to become a major change. It's going to have a very big impact on your costing. So you have to really make sure that your costing are managed. Baseline changes should be allowed only if it is clear that the project will fail without doing the change. So not everybody comes, someone comes and say, let's do something extra. You say yes. You need to make sure that that's really crucial and we must do it. Otherwise we will have a failure. And data acquisition, to be able to make your calculations, to be able to make this data, is not easy to go and collect. It's actually something that is time consuming. And we really need to go and bear that in mind. So we always have an original baseline, and when we go and have changes to the plan, we will save new baseline. The new baseline might cost more, or the new baseline might actually go and say it's going to cost us less because we are removing, let's say, some things from the project. So bear that in mind when the changes that actually goes and comes. One other thing to bear in mind is you need to go and collect all of these data, but you also need to go and communicate this data to the right people. You need to choose who is going to communicate it. You need to choose when is it going to be communicated, how is it going to be communicated, who is going to communicate it, who is going to be receiving it. All of these basically are things we need to go and bear in mind when we are basically making our calculation. Ladies and gentlemen, do we have any questions at all? Alrighty. Seems we don't have any questions. So guys, review the lecture slides, tutorial materials and the notes if taken, read chapter 13, continue working on a group assignment, which is due next week on a Sunday. I just want to remind you that I care so much about you. Your success is very important for me. And I want you to continue working hard to be able to go and achieve success. Success only awaits. It's just only a matter of time. Let's continue working hard and let's try to go and get the right outcome. Thank you very much for all your hard work. Continue working hard. I'll see you very shortly in your tutorial.